So the Pentagon is now warning that major U.S. cities are on alert because of a potential war coming right here to U.S. soil. Look at this. It says Pentagon warns future wars may hit U.S. soil as direct military threats grow. This is a scary situation, and in a moment, I'm going to show you this right here. A full list of 15 U.S. cities on a nuclear target if World War III erupts. This is what experts are telling us, that these are the locations that would likely be hit first. These are the highest risk cities here in the United States. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, look at this. This is what we learned just the other day. Look at that.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said today that the U.S. military will be prepared to carry out whatever President Trump decides on Iran to ensure that Tehran does not pursue nuclear weapons capability.
So the Pentagon...
All right, first off, I want to always give all praise to Yahawashi, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Kal Halalyam. Then double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone who teach well and rule well in truth and sincerity, spreading sound doctrine to those with an ear to hear and eyes to see, whether some hear or forbear. Second, I want to give a healthy shalom to the elect household of faith and Akiyam pushing forth these living waters and remaining faithful and diligent. It's your brother Debar Yawah Lamad with a hopeful edification entitled Stop Wasting Time. So as you see from that video that I just played, that we are definitely in these end times, and times are getting more wickeder by the second. So you need to stop wasting time, get yourself in order, because you got to strap in tight. Jacob's trouble is only ramping up, and we are almost out of here. So I wanted to go off of one scripture that I have. This is Matthew 24, verse 6 through 8. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So from seeing this video that I had just played and what you got ramping up going on in the world amongst the kingdoms, you can see that pestilence is around the corner. Famine already is started. You got the wars ramping up. You see that that Trump is issuing that the Pentagon is, needs to be prepared because there's this feud that's going on with Trump and the other nations is starting to pretty much come home. It's going to start hitting home soon. So I wanted to also, this is why I'm urging in this lesson to stop wasting time and to get serious about this thing. And I have a precept that I wanted to bring up. This is Proverbs 6, verses 6 to 11. I'm going to grab. Go to the ant, though sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise. Which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man. So as you see from reading this, it's good to be ahead of things. You wanna be circumspect in all that you do. So reading that is just pretty much letting you know this is a warning against physical and spiritual slothfulness. So this is why in GMS they stress, producing videos. They studying, joining a camp if it's one in your area. You need to use this time to be diligent, study the times, study and align them with prophecy. Because as things are getting worse, you need to get more sharper in this truth. And I also have Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to Yahawah bahasham and not unto man. I like grabbing some things in the AMP. It gives like a more thorough breakdown. Whatever you do, whatever your task may be, work from the Spirit, says soul. That is putting your very best effort as something done for Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi and not for men. So clearly right there, you don't want to do things to try to please men. You need to be worrying about strengthening yourself, working out your own salvation with fear and trembling, and not care about what people think about you during the process. You need to be redeeming the time. And that just pretty much means, buying back time from worldly distractions. Yeah, you'll have time, to watch TV, maybe play a game or two, but that shouldn't make up your whole day. Careless entertainment, pursuit of, corporate careers or modern materialism, bags, sneakers, clothes, things of that nature. That's all a distraction. All of those things are going to fade away and fizzle out. So you can't take it with you, but your spirit is going, and what you do in the spirit and who you give it to, Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi, that is going to be what is going to work out your rewards in the kingdom. So you need to dedicate time strictly to the work of Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi, producing lessons, edifying yourself, praying every morning, calling on the correct names, street preaching, if it's on your spirit to get out there, get active, start moving and shaking. You cannot continue to just be a quiet in this thing because, you got to feed the sheep. And then I got Romans chapter 13, verses 11 through 12. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. The night is far spent. The day is at hand. And this is pretty much talking about, how the times are literally here now. When you study the times, you look around and you're diligent with the world news, what's going on, you're up to date. You can see that the current world system is coming to an end. They're getting ready to usher in that mark of the beast, that micro C hip. They're getting ready to do away with cash. AI data centers and AI is taking over to an extremes. That I'm 30. I'm in my 30s. So when I was a child, all of this stuff seemed like it would be beyond my time. And with the knowledge increasing to the degrees increasing and prophecies all aligning, that we are literally right around the corner from a Terminator 2 reality. So you need to awake out of your sleep, and that pretty much is telling you when it says awake out of your sleep that Israelites have to wake up to their identity and do it with urgency. The prophets are out here on the corners and on YouTubes and TikToks alarming everybody, sounding trumpets and trying to bring as many of the hopeful elect, as many of the 1/3 into this truth, because literally time is not on our side and we have to stop wasting time and get serious about this. You got to leave no room for spiritual laziness or procrastination. That sluggard mentality cannot accompany you in this. You have to get right. This isn't something to play around with. It's literally eternity on the line. Let me go. I got Ephesians 5, verse 15 through 16. Let me go. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. So like this video is showing you, the days are evil. Esau is scrambling. He's panicking. Trump's switching planes. He's on the lookout for someone trying to kill him, and he's panicking. So they're building all of these strongholds in the world to try to like hide the ICBM missiles destruction, but there'll be no escape for them. And with this, they're trying to take as many people as they can with them. So when it says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil," circumspectly is literally just telling you, act in caution, be prudent, avoid risk. Doing something while you fully watching out for potential dangers and consequences. Realize your actions have consequences, and the consequences being on the receiving end of that nuclear fire, that cleansing fire, something that no one can fathom, how that feeling would be. And that's not something I'm willing to risk. We grab it in the AMP. Therefore, see that you walk carefully, living with honor, purpose, and courage, shunning those who tolerate and enable evil, not as the unwise, but as wise, sensible, intelligent, discerning people. And this is beautiful. It's pretty much telling you not to be a follower. Don't go along with the crowd. If everyone's jumping off a cliff, you shouldn't be joining them to jump off that cliff. Be wise as serpents and humble as a dove, making the very most of your time on earth, recognizing and taking advantage of each opportunity and using it with wisdom and diligence, because the days are filled with evil. It's evil all around you. You got fake food, you got these GMOs, you got the air's being polluted with chemtrails, and you need to take advantage of, the time that you have and study it, because there's always a workaround. You fast, you begin to eat less. You don't have to rely on these 3 meals that, Esau indoctrinated into the common folks, because they don't even eat 3 meals a day. You good with just like a 1 main meal, working out, fasting, and letting the scriptures, nourish you. I forget to eat sometimes, when I'm being edified and studying. And yeah, you may have opportunity to make more money, but don't let the money take you away from the truth. So I also wanted to go into how you can use your time wisely, because we all get sidetracked. We all get sidetracked time after time. So this scripture that I got is in 2nd Esdras chapter 9, verses 1 through 2. He answered me then and said, "Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made." Measure thou time. Letting you know, time is not measured by a clock on a wall, but by prophecy. You're not going to be able to look at your watch, look at the world clock and be like, all right, it's 1 o'clock. The nuclear missile's about to drop. The sky about to open up. Yahawashi come in with the chariots. He's about to destroy everything. Let me put on my boots, put on my hat, and let me go face this reality. No. Literally it says, when Yahawashi arrives with the chariots and the elect, and he starts calling those up who remain diligent in the faith and are true believers, calling on the correct name, it's going to be like a thief in the night. You're not going to know at all when this is going to happen. Yahawashi himself doesn't know. Only the Father knows. And when he wants it to be that time, it's going to be that time. It could be next month, 3 months, 5 months. I personally don't see it being, more than a year or two. But hey, if he has his hair for that, that's Yahweh's will. It's going to be what it's going to be. But at the end of the day, it's not something that you can measure in a carnal sense. So you have to use this time wisely. And that requires, you to compare world events, wars, the economic shifts, technology advancements, the civil unrest. And you got to match it with the scriptures. Because if a man, is not watching the news through the lens of prophecy, he's letting time pass uselessly. You're not doing anything productive with this time, sharpening your tools, strengthening your spirit, getting closer to the Most High and His Son Yahawashi. All you doing is playing a game, possibly getting fat, eating on the couch, messing around with your wife, just partying, being in the world, just wasting away. And then as soon as it happens, then you want to try to get right and call on the right names, and He's going to say, turn away from me, for I never knew you. So it's foolish, to try to do things in that sense. It is very foolish. So let me see, what else did I have lined up? I had some more. So hold on, give me a second. Bear with me, y'all. All right, yeah. So I had Sirach chapter 5, verse 7. Make no tarrying to turn to Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed. Destroy. Tarrying simply means to delay or procrastinate. We all had that spirit on us. Sometimes brothers still have it on them now, about putting out a lesson, about studying, putting it off, saying, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow turn into the day after tomorrow. Then the day after tomorrow turn into next week. And then you wind up being stagnated in the spirit. You just sitting there. All you know is the correct names. And that's it. It's not just know the names and you're guaranteed into the kingdom. Because it lets you know, the pathway to the kingdom is narrow. But the pathway to destruction is broad. A lot of people are going to going to meet this eternal fire. So, this is just literally letting you know you got to get your spirit right. The judgment comes unexpectedly. When people feel secure in what they're doing day to day, that's letting you know, that you are one of those procrastinators. You think this kingdom is your rest. You think we're meant to be here forever. I don't want to continue to be in subjection to Esau. I don't want to have to be subject to taxations and payments. I don't want to have to eat in order to live. I want to just live and eat if I choose so to eat. I'm tired of being in this feeble body, aging, forgetting things. I'm tired of being stuck to a 50-hour work week, 60-hour work week to make ends meet. There's no way in hell that this should be my rest. There's no way in hell that Yahawashi is not going to save those who He chose from the beginning. And if you find with this being your kingdom, and you were two-thirder, or you a heathen nation, it makes sense. But it's a shame that it's going to be two-thirds of our people that would rather be here because this is all they know, than rather study, show thyself approved, get right with the Most High and His Son, and realize that what waits us on the other side is far surpasses anything you can imagine here. But the unknown power to a lot of people, doesn't mean anything. They put it off because at the end of the day, they don't see Him. And in this world, seeing is believing. To those who have, I'm gonna say a low vibration spirit, they're not able to understand that it's more for us than this. And I got John chapter 9, verses 4. I must work the works of Him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. So when it says day, it's just letting you know that is our current window of grace. During this time right now, you have the time to where you can get yourself together. At this time, you should be using it. You're using the internet what it's for. Studying, knowledge has been increased. So it's not as hard as what the apostles, elders, and bishops had to do in order for us to get to this point. We're working in somebody else's labor. They got it all laid out for us. And the night refers to the upcoming famine of the world. And the upcoming famine of the word, Salakia, is pretty much when you're not going to have the prophets on the streets anymore. Esau's going to start limiting the algorithm to those unless you have the chip and you signed up for this beast system to where they're not even going to be teaching sound doctrine. What you're going to be hearing is just going to be more lies and confusion. And when you want to get the truth, it's going to escape you. It's going to be a severe disruption where public teaching and studying will no longer be easy accessible. So use this time wisely. Sirach 37, verse 20. Sirach chapter 37, verse 27. My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. Literally, letting you know, labor and avoid slothfulness. You got to prove yourself, prove your spirit, testing it. You got to continue to fight off these lazy thoughts and not give in to them. Like sin is literally waiting at the door. And in the moment that you start slacking up, it's going to leech on to you. And then there will be no escape at that time, because a lot of brothers, that's when they become apostates. They turn away. They go right back into the world. So it's urgent for us to not waste time. Take this truth very seriously. You need to put urgency to the scriptures over your ambition. You need to spend less years building, secular wealth or long-term career paths, just wasting time in Babylon. This is your time to get right. Because if you believe this current system is going to be long, you're in for a rude awakening. It is very short-lived. You need daily discipline. This time is meant to be spent doing the work, producing videos, reading scriptures, staying up to date with world events, aligned with the prophecy. At camps, they routinely use precepts, upon precepts during their street lectures and teachings and live streams to push followers, believers, those who hear it, to cling on to it and to reevaluate how they spend their daily hours. You just have to, and I mean have to, get right. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 14, verse 14 through 15. Let go from the mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man. Put off now the weak nature, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times. So this is heavily, emphasizing how you need to shed worldly concerns, financial anxieties, personal attachments to the current society, and focus on prophecy. Trust me, Esau is doing what he's supposed to do. He's the sword. He's doing what he has to do, spreading confusion, putting a whole lot on your plate, a lot of things to worry about. With this knowledge increasing, if you are weak in spirit, if you aren't strong in discernment of knowing what's a snare set to pretty much throw you off course, you're going to fall for every gimmick, for everything, because you're weak, you flimsy. And being flimsy in this just shows that you're a two-thirder by spirit. You don't want to get caught up in the fact that these bills upon bills are stacking up. Everybody got bills upon bills stacking up. But hey, it's not the end of the world. This is not your rest. What's the worst that could happen? They take things from you, you wind up being homeless. It's all right. We nomadic people at the end of the day anyway. So if you got to live off the streets, just know and trust and believe that Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi will provide for you. Now, that's not to say intentionally not try and, secure your situation, especially if you have children, family that you're taking care of. But all I'm simply saying is don't overdo it. Don't worry about trying to attain a doctorate degree, about seeing if you can reach CEO level of a business, and it's taking you away from this truth, and it is now getting you cocky. And now you're starting to bask in vainglory, thinking that, hey, I'm the man. Look at me. Look at my car. Look at my house. Don't worry about these worldly concerns. You need to be worried about these scriptures and getting right within your spirit. And these personal attachments with friendships, popularity, fitting in. These are all things that are going to suffocate your spirit because you're not feeding it. You're not nourishing it. So, I just wanted to touch on that. That's what this was. Like, I knew it would be a short lesson. Probably not too long. I didn't want it to go too long. But I just have to stress again, you have to use your time wisely. Stop wasting time. Get right and get right now. This is an urgent matter, not something to play around with. Your time belongs to laboring in this. The prophecies are should urge your spirit, should weigh on your spirit. This is something that you need to do. Everyone needs to get right, especially if you know this truth. Especially. So with that being said, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the great millstone who teach well and rule well in truth and sincerity, spreading sound doctrine to those with an ear to hear and eyes to see, whether some hear or forbear. Shalom to the household of faith, the elect, and the Akim pushing forth these living waters and remaining faithful and diligent. Stay safe, stay prayed up, keep the faith, and start getting busy. Shalom.